RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this program is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of Comfy Sunday. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio, my good friend and co-host, M3. And in the second hour, our guest for this evening, host of the AdamCast IRL, Adam Crigler. Do me a favor, guys. Don't forget to like and share this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. That you had a great day, too. Man, the news just doesn't stop. So much is happening. Something tells me this is going to be the wildest election season ever. I mean, not that it hasn't been already, but it just keeps getting weirder. Do me a favor, guys. If you want to support the broadcast, you can do so through the links you'll see on the screen during the show, but always in the description of this video. Once again, liking and sharing is the best thing you can do to help us out. Do me a favor, guys. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. Hey guys, I want to talk to you very frankly about the increasing civil unrest we're seeing in America these days. You can't turn on the news without hearing about more riots, violence, looting, killings, lawlessness, and general mayhem in too many cities, and now it's creeping into the suburbs. Sadly, I think the worst is yet to come. This isn't stopping anytime soon. The political animosity in our country is unlike anything we've ever seen in our lifetime. It's escalating rapidly, and the crescendo could be very painful. Therefore, this will certainly be the greatest survival challenge we've ever faced. Don't feel bad if it seems that you're almost powerless to stop it. We're all in the same boat, and a lot of people feel that way. However, I want to focus your attention on what you can do to survive. Priority number one in times like this is to make sure you have enough food to eat. If and when the system falls apart, you're going to need it. And I'm not trying to scare you, I just want to prepare you. You see, those who know what's coming are using today to protect themselves and their loved ones from the uncertain future we all face. I know you're not willing to be a victim, but these days, anything can go wrong at any time. And that's why self-reliance and emergency preparedness are vital requirements, no matter who you are. If you know me, you know I fully endorse my Patriot Supply. They are the only source I personally use and trust to get through the tough times ahead, and you should too. Right now, you can save $100 on a full 4-week supply of delicious, nutritious meals your whole family will love. My Patriot Supply makes it easy to be prepared at all times, and saving $100 off a full 4-week supply of food is just too good a deal to pass up. The future is so uncertain. I urge you to go to preparewithredpill78.com and get ready now. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. Do it now. Tomorrow might be too late. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Methods, how's it going, buddy?
Man, it's going really, really good. Been enjoying the chaos of the weekend. It kind of feels like a new world that we're living in now since Friday, huh?
Yeah. Every day it seems like it's a brand new world.
Right.
You know, I like I said in the intro, I was expecting it to be crazy, but it just keeps escalating. Every time I think they've reached the plateau, something happens and they put a ladder up and they go 12 feet higher. I don't really understand how that works, but they keep doing it. And, you know, Who knows? Who knows what the next move that they're possibly going to make is? You got this clip earlier of Nancy Pelosi speaking with George Stephanopoulos, and, you know, something tells me that she's got something in mind, but even she doesn't really know what's going to happen next.
Right. I mean, she's going to be told what's going to happen next, and she's going to play her role. But, yeah, I mean, we can expect, if they've already been doing what they've been doing over the last several months with all these attacks and sources saying things and books being written, you know October is going to be chaos. But, yeah, that clip from her was definitely very telling that they are going to be doing stuff.
Yeah, definitely things are taking place. All right, guys. Well, we've got just under 2,000 people here, 1,800 people here, 775 likes. Please consider leaving a like. Please consider sharing the show. I actually didn't get a chance to retweet the tweet that I put out earlier, so let me go ahead and do that, and we'll make sure everybody is aware. Adam Crigler from the AdamCast IRL is our guest in the second hour. I know he's hanging out in the chat. Thanks a lot for being here with us tonight, Adam. Appreciate you taking the time out. But before that, we've got so much stuff to talk about. All right, so, you know, the Queen of England, this is something that a lot of people pay attention to. I've never been particularly interested in what happens with the Queen. I mean, obviously, there are crimes. I like to investigate that stuff. We want to go after corruption. But it's just different because it's like it's another country, it's a different leader, and I think that she's not going to be around for much longer. The people of Barbados are apparently looking at removing the monarchy as their official head of state. So I guess it's a way of saying that that Barbados is looking to emancipate themselves from the rule of the United Kingdom and the British monarchy. And I think this is kind of important because there's a lot of little different places, little islands and nation states that are officially under the banner of the United Kingdom. And, you know, I mean, it costs a lot of money, I think, to continue the lavish lifestyle that the royals find themselves able to, you know, hang out with every day. You know, I mean, they've got a lot of people they employ. It's not cheap to maintain Buckingham Palace and all of these other palaces. And if this is a trend that we're going to be seeing, then Barbados and other places, they leave the United Kingdom. There goes some tax revenue for the king and the queen and, you know, Harry and Meghan and all that stuff.
Right. I mean, ever since Trump, we always talk about Trump being elected and the power shift that's been happening since then. It's happening globally. And when we hear things like this, it's good to at least make note of it, because it's not just about us here in America. We have plenty of international patriots that tune in here or pay attention to this movement in general. Give me one in the chat if you're not in America. It's always nice to see those numbers show up. And we appreciate anybody staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning, your time to hang out with us. It's always great. But yeah, that power shift that's going on needed to happen. There's been such a grip by a select few in the grand scheme of things that are just controlling different, you know, different locations and just keeping them under their thumb. And it's so great to see people be like, no, we could take care of ourselves. We should have been taking care of ourselves the entire time, but we get born into this stuff. And then it just kind of gets set in place, and then now we just have to take it back.
Looks like Jamaica is the next island nation that is potentially going to be kicking the Queen out. You know what I would like to see is Canada following suit and deciding that they're going to go their own way. I think that would be particularly devastating for Britain and for the United Kingdom if Canada decided that they didn't want the royal party to be ruling them anymore, because obviously Canada is a big nation. They provide a lot of tax revenue, I would think. I mean, they're quite a bit bigger than Britain, you know, proper. But I mean, we've seen this in years past. Places like Scotland were seeking complete independence. I believe, you know, Ireland, obviously. I think Wales has done it as well. But if little old Barbados and little old Jamaica can go ahead and get it taken care of, then why not big places like Canada? You know, I think that it also has something to do with the current racial tensions that you're seeing kind of popping up throughout the world too. Because I mean, it's not just the United States where we're having these BLM, you know, riots and rallies and stuff. I mean, that stuff is happening in the UK as well. So Who knows? Maybe they're going to be coming for the Queen next, and we're going to have like a Marie Antoinette situation, and or maybe it'll be a peaceful separation, and you know, the Queen will just have to figure out another way to make sure that she's got people to you know, keep her bedchamber warm. I don't know. But, you know, I think that this really is a good sign. I think that the monarchy in today's world is just, it's a dead idea. It's not something that we need any longer. You've got governments that they take care of everything. All the monarchy does is just essentially suck off the teat of the people. I mean, there's no reason to keep them around. It's a ridiculous tradition, and if they're not going to take an active part in truly ruling the country, or you know, even more adding to it, doing things to help it out, then there's no reason to keep them around. So, you know, in addition to this struggle for power that's resulting in the removal of the monarchy as the ruling power of island nations such as Barbados and Jamaica, there has been this this new release coming out from the same people that were involved in the release of the Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers, Swiss leaks, Lux leaks, offshore leaks, Luanda leaks. I've never even heard of Luanda leaks, or the implant files. This is called the FinCEN files, and it was acknowledged at the beginning of September by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network of the United States government. That's what FinCEN stands for. But the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, what they look for are suspicious transactions that take place between companies and financial institutions. And what's interesting is that I just reported the other day on suspicious financial transactions that were reported between Hunter Biden and Ukrainian companies and Burisma. Now, nothing came of that, but those suspicious financial transactions were reported. And I'm sure you remember, Methods, that Hunter Biden remained on the Burisma board until April of 2019, so well into President Trump's first term. And, you know, I think that there's a certain boldness that goes along with these people and their crimes. And what we're finding out from the cursory information I've been able to glean from these FinCEN files is that essentially every major financial institution on the face of the earth, and certainly every single American financial institution, we're talking HSBC, JP Morgan Chase, you know, you name it, they are all involved, deeply, deeply, deeply invested in the money laundering of financial criminal gains from organized crime, like at every level. Everybody's doing it. Everybody is washing laundered money. They are all benefiting from it, which means that they're all basically involved in these criminal financial networks. And I mean, it doesn't just stay there with financial crimes. I mean, this money is coming from all sorts of other crimes, whether it's drug trafficking, human trafficking, you know, I mean, basically you name it, and they are profiting off of it. It is, it's a pretty stunning thing. I mean, it's nothing that I'm too surprised about. The only thing I'm surprised about is that it's being revealed. Now we need to see where it goes.
Right. And just real quick, you had said Hunter Biden left in April of 2019. It was actually, I think, in October. So it was even further. It was late 2019 when he was talking, saying he was going to leave, and just kind of waited. But besides the point, you're right. We talk about a lot, and especially many of us who have been looking into this quote unquote conspiracy theory stuff for years. Yeah. We assume these things. We kind of make the general statements that these people are all corrupt. These big businesses are just doing what they do to shift their money around and make the rich richer, make the poor poorer, put us all under the thumb of these big businesses. And to have this information come out and say, yeah, on a global scale, at top money, because what does that say? It was $2 trillion of money shifting around that would be illegally moved around. So the question that you have to ask yourself, which we pretty much know the answer, is why did they have to go about it illegally to hide this money? So you've got the financial crimes in itself of these banks doing it, but like you said, what are the crimes what are the crimes to them that they have to justify doing these actions? And I mean, that gets into a big Pandora's box of evil around the world that is tied to finance. We know money is the root of all evil, you know, so they're definitely involved in all that. So yeah, I'm glad this is coming out. Hopefully things will shake from it. Me and you were talking before the show that we kind of hear about these things every so many years, but nothing pans out. But now we have Trump as president, and we got global shifts in power happening, like what we were talking about. Yeah, I mean, I hope that this pans out more than a big leak, and then it gets lost in the election. I want to see more out of this.
Yeah, I mean, this really does need to pan out more. Now, Stefan calling me out in the chat. The Queen does not rule, and they don't get taxes. How does the Queen and the royal family, don't they collect money from their the peasants or from their subjects? I don't know how it works. Like I said when I first started talking about it, I am blissfully unaware of how the monarchies work. I only know that they exist, that they are getting money from somewhere, and I just assumed that it was from the countries that they oversaw. Now, perhaps it's an oversimplification of what they do, but again, I am not a royal citizen. I don't have a queen or a monarchy that I answer to. So, by all means, if anyone has any more information to fill me in on that, please do. We just got word about this right before the show started. So basically, what has been leaked is it's 5 years of these suspicious transaction reports. So anytime a financial institution gets like I don't know, I guess it's like a financial transaction that is over a certain amount, or it happens in a certain way, or it comes from a certain institution, or there is information that does not match up, if it is suspicions concerning the source of the funds, if the person at the financial institution who's dealing with that transaction, if they think that maybe this came from a crime, the proceeds of a crime, then they have to report it. So 5 years, $2 trillion, that's only a 5-year span. You have to think that over the course of, many decades, we're talking many trillions of dollars. And I guess the real question is, if these suspicious transactions were reported to the Financial Crimes Unit of the United States government, then why weren't they not investigated? Or were they investigated and there was nothing that came of it? I find it highly unlikely that that is the case. It makes me think that, this is just another part of the swamp. I mean, we know that the swamp is not just government. We know that it's big business. We know that it's banking. We know that it is, all different manners of institutions at every level of society. Let's see, hold on. I think people are telling me about how the Queen works. We need to pay respect to Pigdin3089. Q-Rabbit, I don't know who Pigdin3089 is.
That's from the Chuck Grassley tweet where it was all weird and confusing. We didn't talk about it before the show, but you know how Chuck Grassley gets. He just tweets out random stuff, and everybody's been trying to decode it. Corn. And just real quick, I know I said money is the root of all evil. I was referring to the statement itself. This chat's keeping us on our toes and honest tonight, man. I'll give you that. But yeah, everybody knows what I meant. But yeah.
Methods, I'm confused. What did you mean?
No, I said that money is the root of all evil in my statement, and everybody's like, no, it means the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, yeah, okay,
yeah, okay, all right.
All right, I apologize.
Semantics.
I wasn't autistic enough about it. I apologize.
All right, so this FinCEN thing, it's a new release. The government's only response to the report is that it's illegal to release these reports, and the funny thing is that BuzzFeed is one of the major reporting agencies behind it. So, how funny would it be if the release of this information led to the arrest and the closure of everyone at BuzzFeed?
Oh, I would love it. I would love for anything to do that. And they had reported it earlier in the week. A BuzzFeed reporter said that their biggest investigation yet was going to break today, and that's obviously this. And when you look at what FinCEN had said back on September 1st, that they were warning, it was a warning shot that you can't unlawfully disclose this information. Well, I guess they went through with it. we'll see what happens. The media likes to think that they're bigger than life itself and can't do any wrong. So I would like to see them, shown what it is.
Yeah. So these are the official things that they are saying in the report that has been revealed. This is from the BBC. First of all, HSBC allowed fraudsters to move millions of dollars in stolen money around the world. I believe it. Even after it learned from U.S. investigators the scheme was a scam. Okay, not the first time HSBC has been accused of allowing criminals or terrorists or drug dealers to launder money and move it around the world. So I'm into it 100%. Also, JP Morgan allowed a company to move more than $1 billion through a London account without knowing who owned it. The bank later discovered the money might be owned by a mobster on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Now, what happened to that money? Did they allow them to keep it, or did they seize it? Did they hand it over to the FBI? Probably none of the above. Also, evidence that one of Russian President Vladimir Putin, they got to get a Russian angle in there, one of his closest associates used Barclays Bank in London to avoid sanctions which were meant to stop him from using financial services in the West. Some of the cash was used to buy stolen works of art. So he's got good taste.
Right. Now, when did James Comey leave as director of the HSBC?
Well, that was, right before he became FBI director. So, that would have been during President Clinton. And, gosh, I don't know. I don't know the year. But, when he was there, No. In March of 2013, he was hired as the board director for HSBC. Wait a second. Okay, I'm getting my stories mixed up, because there was a time that James Comey was brought on to a bank that was found to be moving laundered or stolen money. He was brought in to be this Boy Scout, saying that the bank was cleaned up, and then once that was done, then he moved in to become director of the FBI. So okay,
right.
Yeah,
no,
you're
I'm
right.
looking.
That was
I'm
it.
I'm looking at it now.
Mueller. I'm thinking Mueller, but yes, no, you're totally right. You're totally right.
Well, they're both hacks, but he was brought in and say everything was fine and fixed. So I'm just curious, however long he was there, maybe somebody in the chat can help us out with that, because you said they're going back 5 years?
This is from 2012 to 2017, I believe. Hold on, let me look at it again.
So if he was the board director during this time, I'd be very curious if Comey's got more problems.
That would be awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like it was 2012 to 2017. So yeah, we need to get a hard date on Comey's removal or resignation from HSBC. So in the UK, there's also called a higher risk jurisdiction like Cyprus. According to the intelligence division of FinCEN, and that's because the number of UK registered companies that appear in the suspicious activity reports, over 3,000 UK companies are named in the FinCEN files. That's more than any other country. So Bank of London, I'm immediately thinking about. Lots of corruption coming out of there. Also, the United Arab Emirates Central Bank failed to act on warnings about a local firm which was helping Iran evade sanctions. That's a pretty big one. Deutsche Bank moved money launderers dirty money for organized crime, terrorists, and drug traffickers. Also Jeffrey Epstein, don't forget that. And then Standard Chartered moved cash for Arab Bank for more than a decade after clients' accounts at the Jordanian bank had been used to fund terror attacks. Now, they go through a whole bunch of other information, but I'm gonna stop there, you guys. I'm probably gonna do a bigger report on this, just an entire show talking about the findings in this FinCEN release. It should make for some good programming, so we'll go through it then. Now, something interesting came up here. We all know that John Durham was officially nominated to his position on the same date that our favorite Anon began posting back in 2017. But before then, he was tapped by Jeff Sessions to investigate these leaks from James Comey in March of 2017. Jeff Sessions appointed Durham to investigate James Comey following the report that came out in the New York Times, which asked about the statement denying Trump's accusation that Barry had wiretapped Trump Tower, but the DOJ refused. So So my point here is that John Durham was involved longer than we thought, and Jeff Sessions brought him in well before that. He was already investigating Comey before Our Favorite Anon even began posting. And the big takeaway is that, again, it was Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions making moves behind the scenes. So many people have so much hate to pour at the feet of Jeff Sessions. And I've always said, you know, we got to let history bear this out. I mean, none of us were there. None of us were working at the DOJ. Everybody thought just because Jeff Sessions wasn't out there front and center saying that he was doing this or he was doing that, that meant he was a bad dude. I'm still, you know, on the fence. I don't know that he was a bad dude, but man, this is another point in his favor as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I can't take credit for this point being made. Brian Cates on Twitter brought this up, so hat tip him. As sealed indictments become unsealed, and I know we keep talking about it, just don't tune me out here by just saying a sealed indictment. As they come out, he made the point, what's the date that they were filed when these things are made public? Look at the date, and then who was the attorney general during that time. And that I imagine that we're going to be seeing a lot of this happen because we've been all tracking the sealed indictments, you know, for the last several years, and they keep building up. You know, what if we were to get plenty of these, and there are a lot of names of people that we want to see arrested, or it makes sense as things come to light, and a lot of it happened under Sessions' watch. And Our Favorite Anon has pointed this out, that the future, you know, will prove Sessions to be a patriot. So I'm curious about that. I like that point of what that Brian said, because if there's going to be certain things that are brought up during time periods, then you got to think about what was going on during that time. And I think that might possibly exonerate the public opinion of Sessions. And now if anybody out there is asking themselves, well, our president that we all love has been talking trash about Sessions and basically took down Sessions from getting into the Senate through all that talk. The counter argument that could be made, and like I said, me and Red Pill are waiting to find out, the counter argument to be made about that is optics. Because if this stuff comes out and then they find out these investigations have been going on longer, indictments have been sealed for a long time, this happened under Sessions, and they're going to say, oh, well, Sessions was picked by Trump, Orange Man bad, he was being, you know, the law arm for Trump. Well, Trump's just laid an entire optic groundwork about saying, I don't like the guy. He said it recently in a rally in the last few days, how he didn't trust Sessions, and he went off the opinion and the fact that Sessions endorsed him, and he went with it and all that stuff. He keeps saying that stuff. Why does he just not talk about Sessions anymore? To me, it's an optics stuff. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, here's the thing. You know, all of these bad guys, this entire time, they thought they were safe, that Jeff Sessions was this lame duck and that he was doing nothing. Wouldn't it be smart for President Trump to, you know, have this fake public feud with Jeff Sessions, to pretend that, you know, he's angry that Jeff Sessions is doing nothing? I mean, like, appear weak when you are strong, you get it? I mean, hopefully people understand that, you know, Art of War, Sun Tzu, but I mean, I've always perceived it that way, and I'm not saying I'm right. You know, I'm just saying that I don't know. I don't have the answer 100%, but that's the way it looks to me. That's the way it's always looked to me. You know, I mean, even if Jeff Sessions isn't a wholly honorable man, I've never seen him do anything that made me think he was working for the other side. I have, however, seen he and Trump doing things that look to me like it was theater. President Trump likes a good script. He loves the good story. He loves to put on a show for the cameras. And he also likes to keep his enemies on their toes. That's just the way I see it.
Right. Okay. Well, let's put it to the audience, because we've just been spending some time, you know, saying, well, if it's this, then it must be that, and, you know, vice versa. So give me a 1 in the chat if you trust Sessions, trust that he did the right thing during that time, and we might learn in the future. 2, if you just don't trust him. I've already seen somebody call him a garbage person in the chat. That's your opinion, and that's fine. 1, if you trust Sessions and what he did and he was doing the right thing. 2, if you don't trust him and he was a lame duck.
And I just want to remind everybody, just remember how many sealed indictments were put up under Jeff Sessions. I mean, he was the head of the DOJ. He did put Durham in charge. He put Durham on Comey's trail back in March of 2017. Man, my vote is a 1 on Jeff Sessions being a good dude. And President Trump is an excellent chess player, so I'm totally into it.
Yeah, I was watching this thing earlier that was dropped on the boards. I didn't send it over to you. A lot of ones in the chat. Look at you guys go.
Proud of y'all. Proud of you, fam.
I can appreciate it. There's some twos in there, and I'm watching real quick. There's some twos in there, and I respect it. It's all public opinion. You know, we can have these decisions. But I was watching something earlier, Red Pill, and I'll send it to you. And Anon made the point about how there's two different Trumps. Let me rephrase that. There's two different sides that the public sees of Trump, and one they don't see as much. One is all the stuff that the media says. You know, he talks too much. He's very boastful. Yeah, stop tweeting so much. He's boastful about his, his accomplishments. He's very brash about things and all that. But he also comes across not as a simplistic mind, but he talks like everybody. He's just a casual, the man's man, right?
He is. He's an everyman.
Okay, but the other side of him, you have to think about everything he's accomplished and the stuff he did behind the scenes. How did he raise to that power? And yeah, people want to argue that he got some money from his dad, whatever. Like, that's fine. Think about what he was able to accomplish to get to where he was. And then why would he do that if he was just a boastful? Like, why would he then put that all away to be the president and be attacked on a daily basis?
He's a cunning strategist.
Right. And then think about how he's bringing peace in the Middle East amongst countries that we never expected. And these are negotiations happening behind the scene while he's out tweeting and misspelling things on the regular. This
is what I wanted to say, too. He was doing that in secret the whole time. So, nobody had any idea that he was putting those peace deals, that he was brokering that together with those countries. And that way they weren't able to sabotage it. With one hand, he's tweeting and saying things to keep the press occupied and these other countries. And then with the other hand, he's working behind the scenes to broker the greatest peace deal on the face of the earth. And he gets it done and signed before they can even screw him on it.
Right. And so that's what you have to keep that in mind, is that if he's that brilliant of a businessman, but then he's doing all these things in public to where the media can somewhat justify with an isolated soundbite when they say that he's just an idiot, he's not fit for office, blah, blah, blah. We've seen it all. And they have these clips why wouldn't Trump just step back and not do that and take away a bullet in their gun? But the fact that he gives them enough, it looks intentional. He puts these things out there to justify it. He also talks trash about them to fuel the fire and make them even angrier. But these people that are trying to control the public opinion know that he's doing things behind the scenes that's going to end up hurting their globalist agenda. So they have to attack him some way, and they look like the angry mob, and Trump just looks like the man that just happens to fall into place with things. But the end game is that there's progress for not just the American people, but for the world. And that's why we got to step back and see that. And if you could ever explain that to a liberal, actually have a simple conversation debate with them and they listen, ask them those questions, do the back and forth and say, how could he do all this if he was that of a simple-minded person?
And here's the thing, guys, you have to be able to look at both sides of a situation. Sit down, do it this exercise like Methods and I are doing. Lay out the different possibilities, okay? And then you can kind of see this roadmap of possibilities, and then you can just, objectively say, well, which one seems more likely? Which one is possible? Maybe they're both possible, but then look at the fuller picture, and it will help you to make this decision. Now, somebody in the chat said, do you trust Wray? I trust President Trump, who wanted Christopher Wray in the job at the FBI for whatever reason. I think that we were told to trust Wray to do whatever he was supposed to do. I don't know what that was because I wasn't privy to those conversations, and obviously I don't know everything that POTUS is thinking. But, POTUS wanted him there for a reason. And Christopher Wray did a lot of different things while he was there at the FBI. Did he do everything we wanted him to do? Absolutely not. Is Christopher Wray a swamp creature? I think probably it's pretty likely. Did Christopher Wray do something at the FBI that allowed for a greater change that's about to take place? President Trump is now floating the idea of replacing him just before his second term. I think that Christopher Wray being in power at the FBI allowed a lot of deep state characters to think man, this is great. Trump is an idiot. We got this in the bag. But just because Christopher Wray was maybe playing both sides doesn't mean President Trump didn't know it. Also doesn't mean that they weren't gathering evidence the entire time. I trust President Trump's, I trust his instincts to have Christopher Wray there to do whatever was needed to be done. And now I don't think Christopher Wray is going to be there for the second term. And I trust President Trump is going to choose someone who's truly going to get the job done in the way that everyone here is hoping that that they would, and that they were hoping that Christopher Wray was going to the first time around. This is a long game. This is something we were talking about the other day. These people that we're fighting against, they are working decades on into the future. They are planning for things that are not necessarily going to happen in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months or even the next couple of years. They are setting things up so that as time goes on, they can change things incrementally. It's like the idea of the pot of boiling frogs. America has been slowly boiled until finally we're at the point now where it's starting to simmer over the top of the pot here. And President Trump has been trying to undo all of that in the last 4 years. And now he's going to get into office again for another 4-year term. And things are really, really going to start to change in a different way. We're going to see all of those indictments getting unsealed. And I think that we're probably going to see a lot more appointments and maybe even continuing with the interim appointments into the second term. And things are going to change. But you got to think about the long game here. You got to think about strategy, and you have to think about what President Trump has publicly stated. You know, I would highly suggest reading The Art of War, okay? Read that, and then take a look at President Trump and his public statements, the things he's done and said, even the way he tweets, okay? I mean, he likes to keep people on their toes, and he will have no problem with distracting people with one thing while he's doing something else behind the scenes there, behind the curtain. So
right, and
that's my opinion.
Yeah, just to add to this point, and well said, but to add to this point, I'm not going to call this person out in the chat, but they're basically, you know, saying that we're calling Trump a messiah, and he's not a messiah.
Well, nobody said that. Come on.
Right. Okay, I know, and I don't know if this is a trolling thing or not, but I see some people saying that our side treats Trump as God. So I just want to touch on that point, that all because we support a majority, if not all, of the decisions that he's made, doesn't mean that we don't consider him more than just a man, that we just believe that he's doing the right thing. He's the only president we've had in our lifetimes, you know, most of us, that is really fighting for us, and we all believe it, or a lot of us do. And I can appreciate it. Now, that doesn't mean I won't criticize him. If he comes out and does something that I don't appreciate at all, if you were to go and do a photo op with the CCP and kiss their ring and get on one knee, then I would raise holy hell, and you guys would see a different side of me. I wouldn't be happy about it, but he hasn't done it. But I will give a criticism of him. I wish that he would have, I understand why, but I wish he had stepped in and did, you know, he keeps talking about how he could have stepped in and been involved in this investigation stuff the entire time. Mm-hmm. Durham, he could step in and put his foot down and do stuff. I would have loved for that to happen. Yeah, I can understand probably why. I think he could be a little bit tougher about it, but we talk about on these shows all the time, there's more behind the scenes going on that weighs on an opinion and a decision that we're not seeing. And that's what I hope a lot of people can keep in mind when certain actions happen or things take certain amount of times and all that stuff. There's way more going on here that we can't see. Did any of us know that we were going to have peace in the Middle East in the middle of a Rona 2020 chaotic year going on? Did any of us see that coming?
No, and especially after the work he did on the Korean Peninsula. I mean, right. Are there things that I would have done differently? Undoubtedly. But I'm not president, okay? I got a show on YouTube, okay? It's a far cry. It's a totally different thing. None of us are in the government. None of us are president of the United States. And President Trump is not God. He's certainly not the Messiah. He is a man, a flawed man, just like anybody else. But I like the way he governs. Okay, you know, I mean, I certainly like the way he governs better than Obama or better than Clinton or better than anybody else who's come before him. But, you know, I mean, overall, I support President Trump's agenda. But, you know, that's overly simplistic to say that we think that he's a messiah. He's certainly not.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just a comment I saw in the chat, but I do see the left using that as a talking point.
Oh, it's a throwaway. Yeah, they use that all the time.
Yeah, so it's just something. Let's just go ahead and take apart that narrative here. But yeah.
Meanwhile, how many images were published during Barack Obama's presidency, making him look like a saint or like the reincarnation of Mao or something like that? And nobody, I mean, I never would have thought to accuse a leftist of looking at Barack Obama as a saint, even though I saw the sainted iconography popping up. I knew what they were doing, but whatever. Projection.
100%. Now, real quick, before we move on to whatever topic you want to get to, Adam Crigler will be on here in about 20 minutes. We want to thank everybody for being here. We are dancing very close to 5,000 people hanging out. We really do appreciate that on a Sunday evening. 2,000 likes. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue, that would be great. And donation. Go ahead.
I saw 1999.
Oh yeah, but yeah, any donations that you guys have made on Cash App and PayPal, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys, and we'll get into reading those in the second hour if there's any that come up. Now, what I did want to talk about is because I saw somebody bringing it up in the chat, is the Wiener laptop. The Wiener laptop is now coming back up. This is definitely something that I would have liked to have seen used a little more heavy-handedly. I feel like this was a lost opportunity. But, again, I'm not the president, and I don't know what other things they have planned or how they were planning to use this. But, it's interesting that it's coming up right now at the end of September. The idea of an October surprise is always something that you have to think about in an election season. I would say that the death of RBG, which is what we're going to talk about next, I mean, that's a bit of an October surprise, but in our favor. But the FBI agent who actually handled handled the discovery of these emails on the Wiener laptop, he is the guy that is out now talking about it. FBI agent John Robertson. He worked in the New York office's child sex crimes unit, and he was cited but not named in the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz's 2018 report on the handling of the investigation of Clinton's unauthorized private bathroom email server. Now, he spoke to a Washington Post reporter who has an upcoming book which is entitled October Surprise: How the FBI Tried to Save Itself and Crashed an Election. Now, obviously, working for the Washington Post, he probably thinks that, none of this should have ever been talked about. And us on the right, obviously, we think that this really should have been a very, very big deal. I'm sure that everybody remembers that report, remembers that section, Crimes Against Children and Hillary Clinton. Now, the only thing that I don't agree with here is that, I mean, these emails have not been fully examined, I mean, at least not in a public sense. Clearly, we talked about NSA Stellar Wind the other day. If not for this Wiener laptop, they could have just gone to the NSA's database or any other number of NSA databases. And I'm sure that the NSA has every single email that Hillary Clinton tried to acid wash, tried to bleach bit, tried to delete from all of her BlackBerry devices with hammers and, fires, whatever it was that they did. But, John Robertson, when he found this stuff, he sent it up the chain, and everybody basically sat on it. Nobody came to get the emails. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And frankly, I think that there was a leniency that was showed to Anthony Weiner as well. But I want to know what's going on with these emails. What about you?
Right, because he said that they had like 20 times more emails than what was talked about publicly. And then if you think about what Trump just said in a recent rally, I can't keep up with all the places he's been at. He's got more energy than all of us combined. But he had made the comment about how those emails have to be in the State Department and they need to be looking into it.
That's right.
Seeding it into the conscience of the public. And then we have this information that's out in the public as well. This guy, he found some of the emails based off of what we're hearing here in these articles. He found some of them, did what he was supposed to do as his job, and then was really confused that nobody was coming, to fully do the investigations that they would be expecting. And then he was threatened with prosecution if he did anything about it, because he was like, all right, guys, it's been enough time. I think people need to know this woman is literally, voting away from being the president. And we have these emails that are connected to her. Mm-hmm. We need to cover it. We need to discuss it. And then that's where you get, I believe, like you said, that Crimes Against Children, mm-hmm. that screen cap that we've been seeing for a few years now. That's where it was. So if we want to go back to criticizing the president, I think that we could have pulled off having that whole thing play out, or at least sections of it, because we know that there's plenty more than just crimes against children in these laptops. So we're talking about their communications here, and bribery lists, probably stuff of that nature. Like, I think that they could have went that direction, because it would have justified everything Trump was saying as far as that they're doing this Mueller witch hunt. They were trying to cover this up, and then now she's being put behind bars, and then Sessions would have been fine and a hero and all that. But once again, there's more going on than we know. And I think, though, that this is a good thing to come out, because Hillary's not running. Yeah. So all that talk, that double talk by Barr about, well, nobody investigated right now is running for president. Well, maybe not in 2020, but maybe in 2016.
Yeah, yeah. So, at the time he pulled a Susan Rice. It was interesting. I mean, I guess we could say she pulled a Robertson, because he wrote his CYA letter prior to her writing her own email to herself about being above board and by the book. But in October of 2016, so just before the election there in 2016, he wrote this letter to himself. And he said, I have very deep misgivings about the institutional response of the FBI to the congressional investigation into the Hillary Clinton email matter. Put simply, I don't believe the handling of the matter I have by the FBI is ethically or morally right. But my lawyer's advice that I simply put my SSA on notice should cover me is that I have completed a CYA, and I have done so. Further, I was told by Kramer that should I whistleblow, I would be prosecuted. So obviously, the people who were in power at the time, they did not want this information coming out, because they wanted Hillary Clinton to get into office. They wanted her to win in 2016. And it's kind of interesting, because it's the type of institutional corruption that you actually had back in 2016. They were trying to insulate Clinton. They were trying to make sure that nothing happened that was going to damage her. James Comey had to come out and say something, because I think that it was obvious that this information was going to come out. And he knew, I think a part of him knew, that President Trump was going to win. Candidate Trump was going to win in 2016. If he didn't do something about this, this new revelation, then once Trump came into office, Comey was in danger of getting into some trouble. So this way, he could say, hey, I'd let everybody know we found these emails. It was on Anthony Weiner's laptop. But there's nothing to see here. But at the same time, he was hoping that he was doing it late enough that people were it wasn't going to make a difference. Their minds were already going to be made up.
Right. So think about what was it, back in June when there's that big whole spectacle about SDNY, the Southern District of New York, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman being asked to step down, and he didn't want to leave. And then everybody was making a mess. Chuck Schumer freaked out. This is going through there. To me, Jeffrey Berman was the Dan Coates of the SDNY, just bottlenecking everything and not allowing this information to go out. And we still have the acting involved. I haven't seen any information on that. Is it still the number 2 is now still in that position, or have they actually put it?
Yeah, okay, she is. Yeah,
but she's the one that went directly after Ghislaine Maxwell. So
she's also the one that went directly after the We Build the Wall people too. I don't know what to think about her.
Right. So maybe it was one of those things that she comes in and does that, and then still kind of blocks things. But Barr could put in who he wants to. He had already nominated somebody. I can't remember their name.
Yeah.
But that right there is your Pandora's box of a lot of those things. And the fact that we're now getting this in the public forum, talking about the Wiener laptop, which was handled there, I'm very curious on if we're going to get that kind of information coming out around this time, because it would fuel our side, because we want to see justice happen. It would definitely put the Democrats on their heels and be in defense. We talked about this before the show about Trump's got enough ammunition here that he can put them all on their heels and make them deal with multiple bullets coming at them at once, while trying to get Joe through to the finish line and all these different things. So yeah, just eyes on SDNY, because that, to me, I'm very curious on something coming out of there before the election.
So now President Trump has this opportunity to really frame the next generation of legal scholarship here in the United States with the death of RBG. A lot of people saying that she died back in January 2019. I remember when Fox News flashed that RBG is dead chyron on screen, and then they were kind of like, oh, you know, we weren't supposed to do that. I had a bunch of really fun RBG is dead videos back at that time, and a lot of people have just, you know, they've been saying ever since that time that she's dead, she's a clone, you know, that they're just trotting out weekend at RBG's, weekend at Ginsburg's, you know, and who knows? I think it's a moot point either way. I mean, I don't think she's done anything in the last year, you know, last 2 years almost, and you know, this is great. You know, I'm sure you remember that little snippet that Neon caught, showing that they had reused audio in the publicly released decisions of the Supreme Court, which showed that you know, very possibly RBG could potentially not even be there in session. They were just pretending that she was there. They were using audio. And of course, you know, she's had cancer like 6 times since that time, and she was in and out of the hospital. It doesn't matter. Regardless, she's gone now. She's really gone. President Trump is going to get another shot at a new Supreme Court justice. And I thought it was really interesting that somebody sent him a package with ricin in it. It's suspicious timing. Somebody tried to send him a ricin package. I mean, obviously ricin is a poison. It's a neurotoxin, I think, if you want to get technical with it. It's you take it from soybeans, I think.
I'm not a ricin specialist, but I just know that it's meant to do harm.
Castor beans. Sorry, castor beans. Take it from castor beans. But, you know, suspicious timing that somebody tries to poison President Trump with ricin. But you know, with the death of RBG, I mean, it's basically thrown woke Twitter into a tailspin. I mean, people have been freaking out. You got people who, you know, just think back to the behavior of these people this whole time that she's been sick, you know, just begging her, you know, to stay on, don't allow President Trump to get another pick. Now people are, you know, very upset that she didn't retire. So that there's I mean, President Trump would have gotten a pick either way. I mean, it doesn't matter if it happened last year, if it happens, you know, this year. You know, what it all depends on is the votes in the Senate. And it appears that we have enough votes in the Senate, despite the presence of rhino Republicans like Romney and Murkowski. There's a couple other ones I'm kind of worried about. But Methods, remind me, what happens if they have a tie in the Senate?
Then Pence gets to vote it directly in.
Pence gets the vote. Pence gets the vote. So
imagine all that talk about Pence being a black hat and all that stuff, and then having to be supportive of him. But to that whole point, because I've been trying to balance the argument there about, you know, the timing of her, you know, being announced that she's dead. As far as her being dead a year ago as compared to maybe a week ago, and it was a scheduled timing of an announcement, not too sure. I don't believe that she died at the moment it was reported. But let me ask you this, Red Pill, because I've been trying to figure this out. Now, we talk about it being a narrative control, them bringing out RBG, talking about them trying to stonewall the Supreme Court for any election fraud stuff that gets up there. Yeah. Basically trying to ruin the election. We kind of see them trying to do this anyways, because it's either Biden wins or we're going to burn this thing to the ground. So I can get that, but also they would have really wanted her to make it till after the election. Yeah. Because imagine them fighting the whole election fraud stuff going on, and then her dying and taking over the news while they do all their work in court, and nobody's making a big deal because they're all focusing on her being dead and getting. So let me ask you this: if we have to talk about it being announced at a particular time, that was a decision. Do you think that it was the black hat side or the white hat side?
Well, you know, I mean, this is so complicated, because I would have thought that they would have kept her alive, at least in name only, until after the election, because undoubtedly they are going to try to take anything having to do with this election to the Supreme Court. They're going to try to put as much clout it as much as possible to make it look like there's a possibility Joe Biden could win. Of course, all of these votes from these various states that are going to be counted until 14 days after Election Day, Completely ridiculous. The only reason they're going to do that is so that they can harvest as many fake ballots as possible and try to make it look like Joe Biden is the winner. Then they would take it to the Supreme Court, and then there's a possibility with Roberts that we would have this liberal majority on the Supreme Court that would then give us a victory for Joe Biden. Joe Biden would be president. He would immediately bail out. Kamala Harris becomes president of the United States. I don't know. I don't know if it was a white hat or a black hat decision. I mean, I can't imagine that there is any benefit to the black hats to have allowed RBG to die before the election, because President Trump is going to get his pick. I mean, there's a precedence for this. You know, Ted Cruz was out there this weekend talking about it, saying that they have the votes. He gave us every single time, you know, there's dozens of times that that presidents in an election year have gotten an additional pick for the Supreme Court, and they've made it. Now, I think, you know, one of the only times that it wasn't allowed to happen was when Barry was denied a Supreme Court pick back there at the end of his term in 2016. You know, he was calling for it. He was saying that, you know, the Senate needs to allow for me to have this Supreme Court pick. Nancy Pelosi was saying that they needed to fill Scalia's seat. They wanted it to happen, but there was a difference. The difference was that Barry was on his way out. Okay, so President Trump, or whoever that next president was going to be, was coming in. I like the idea of that incoming president getting to do it, but here's the thing. I mean, if the tables had been turned and Democrats had controlled the Senate, then they would have allowed it to happen. Cocaine Mitch McConnell, thank God for him, not allowing for that Supreme Court nomination to be voted upon there during the end of Barry's term. But, I mean, that's just how the dice are rolled. I mean, if you've got, say, you know, you've got a party in the White House, you've got the same party in the Senate, they're going to do whatever they want to do in terms of that Supreme Court nomination and the vote on it. If the tables had been flipped, the Democrats were in power, then, you know, that's what would have happened. But I have to believe that because her death was announced before this election, and it does not help the black hats. I think this was a white hat move, because we need to have that conservative majority on the Supreme Court, because undoubtedly whatever happens here on November 3rd is going to carry over and it's going to spill into the Supreme Court. That's my opinion.
Right. Well, let me add one point to this. If we're expecting, if we want to take our favorite Anon at their word, all this stuff, we're expecting for this next week to be even crazier than last week. And we kind of feel it in the air, even without the post. Like this narrative control, it's going to be RBG week. You know, this is going to be George Floyd-esque type stuff going on. State funeral, them having this go ahead and go on is definitely could be a distraction. And I do think that it does hamstrung the Supreme Court, you know, because they can't have a 5-4 vote now on anything. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious about it. But I know that we're about to bring Adam Crigler in here. We have a full another hour of the show. We appreciate everybody being here. About 5,850 people here hanging out, 2.7 thousand likes. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue and sharing this out on your favorite platform, we've got a lot more show left, and we thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being here, guys. Real quick, before we bring Adam in, there were a couple of posts as well today. We had, actually yesterday, we had a redrop of Ronald Reagan's speech, his famous speech. I'm going to drop the YouTube link to that. I don't know if that song in there is copyrighted, so I don't want to play it. Plus, it's a couple of minutes long. So go ahead and watch that in your spare time. I'm sure everybody here has already seen it. But then it also tells us September 21st through the 25th, track and follow event. Second time we were told to look at that week. Now, just thinking about the post before, we were told to look at last week, and then this week we had RBG's death, some crazy stuff happening. I can only imagine how crazy this upcoming week is going to be. And then Running Red, which I believe is a reference to that, you know, the submarine. So, I mean, we got Patriots working undercover in the background. Things are happening. Then we've got a post from today, 2 posts from today. We've got a Twitter status. That Twitter status is from Dr. Simone Gold. Nevada is now the 7th state to quietly reverse their decision to block HCQ prescriptions for the beer bug. Physicians in Nevada can now once again prescribe HCQ as they deem necessary. Big news before the election. So we're going to have a lot of people being healed, and who knows what the real numbers are on people who are sick. But then we've got a lengthy post talking about essentially the various things that they've done to kind of hamstring the president. And then the post 4739, we have a prayer. Strengthen my faith, Lord, forgive my sins so that I may be clean in your righteousness. And it continues on. We're not going to have time to go through the whole thing because it is 8 p.m. We've got Adam Crigler coming in right now. So do me a favor, give our guest a very warm welcome. Joining us right now is Adam Crigler from the AdamCast IRL podcast. Adam, what's going on, brother?
Hey, welcome, everybody. Can you hear me? I think my mic...
Yeah, turn that gain up there if you would.
How's that? Is that better?
That is much better. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. And how's it going? It's great to join you on this. I've been watching the show.
Good.
I've been wanting to take part. I'm like, oh, I got something to say about that. Oh, I got something to say about that. Well, interesting conversation so far.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. I mean, don't let it stop you. I mean, anything that we've talked about so far. I mean, what do you want to comment on? RBG, the Rife.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. The whole RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This whole thing has been incredible to watch, and it's insulting. Honestly, I've been so annoyed at both sides. This whole battle between the left and the right, it honestly has been the most frustrating thing I think of 2020, because it's so polarizing. You're either on one side or you're on the other side. Everyone's being hypocrites. I'm talking both sides. Everyone's got their moments, and it's ridiculous to see that. So I don't know, rule of law, right? I mean, we need 3 branches of government. We need the people in. I wasn't really political back in 2016, when the whole when Justice Scalia died and was replaced. So I'm not sure, how close to the election was it? I was curious to, obviously you guys are a little more privy to that. When was it? How close was it? Was it this close?
It was months before the election.
Okay. So even longer.
Yeah. It was a lot longer than RBG. So. Yeah. But, in my opinion, the thing that was different is that Obama was outgoing, and again, he did not have control of the Senate with Democrat control. So,
right, you mentioned that.
And we've got that separation of the various branches of government for that very reason. If it had been a Democrat-controlled Senate, we would have had, another RBG in there because obviously they were well aware that she was probably going to die or retire. But your point about the left and the right. So correct. I mean, everything is it's a matter of shades of gray. People get too bogged down. Just because somebody is a Democrat or a Republican doesn't mean that they are good or evil. The swamp does not differentiate between parties. It doesn't break itself down along party lines. I mean, there are people on both sides of the aisle that are totally corrupt. And, President Trump is a Republican, but I mean, during his various forays into this political sphere, he's only labeled himself as what he thought he could win as during that election. He's a Republican in name only. He's got conservative values, but he's across the board. Yes, he's an American.
That's what I say. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm American. I want the best for America. And because of that, doesn't mean I don't want the best for the rest of the world. There's this people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, well that just means he's just the worst person ever. And it's like, no, I want the best for everybody. But I was born here, and this country's great. You can't even admit that it's great. Waving the American flag now is frowned upon. It's like, where are we? When did this happen?
There is something to be said for self-preservation, okay?
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself in your own home before you can worry about anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but just people are just so hung up trying to be contrarian to Trump, and they can't allow themselves to align with anything. And it's because of the polarization that's happened in America, in due in large part to the mainstream media, due in large part to the people that are in power. They cannot allow President Trump to have a win or to look favorable in any respect. They just have to stand in contrast to anything that he does. And it doesn't matter if it's good for America or if it's good for them.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's going to be interesting, too, because he's going to... Oh, sorry. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
No, can't hear it.
Oh, great. So he's going to pick between two women, and they started freaking out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, he made a hand gesture. He does this.
Right.
He does his hand gestures." And he did that while I don't know if you saw this article. It's ridiculous. They're like trying to pick out anything to rag on him, and it's like he's picking two women who have, or between two supposedly. The list is fairly short. I think there's like 5 people on the list right now.
Yeah.
But supposedly it's going to be ACB, Amy. Yes, right, Amy Barrett, and or what's her? Hold on, let me grab the other name, or Barbara Lagoa. I haven't heard of her.
That's who you were talking about, Methods.
Yeah, and it's like, cool, awesome. So more proof that he's not sexist. I find it ridiculous how much they really try to twist what he says and what he does. Honestly, that's why I became red-pilled in the first place, because of the extent of that.
Well, that's a good place to go, because I saw a few people in the chat, not many, a lot of "Hey Adams,"
what up, everybody?
A lot of "Soy Jesus" comments, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Right, but
I didn't come up with that. That's something they came up with for me.
Okay,
just because I'm vegan and I'm hiding my hair. It's back there.
Right, but no, I did see a few people in the chat say, "Who is Adam?" So if you can just give a little bit of background about you, that would be great.
Yeah, so I got a big spotlight on me earlier in this year when a buddy of mine, Tim Poole, and I started. Well, I guess I should be a little more accurate. He brought me on to a show that he wanted to do, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time doing it. I think it was going in a direction he didn't want it to go. He really wanted to do guests, and he was doing a lot more work than that dude works a lot. He gets up and just does. He puts his ear to the ground for news all day long. And we did a show together, and I became, I had a platform, and people know me from that. That's where Soy Jesus comes from. A lot of the chat from Timcast IRL dubbed me Soy Jesus. And now I'm doing my own show, AdamCast IRL, and it's a lot of fun. I'm basically political commentary. I don't really want to be political, but I kind of was thrown into the world of politics this year by being on his channel. And that's really what it is. I was a model for a long time. I was a professional skateboarder for a long time. I ran a skate school for a few years in New York. That just kind of sums up my past there. And now I'm doing my own show, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So here I am in my studio. This is where I do AdamCast. This is actually fan art right here. Someone sent me this skateboard behind me. I think it's fantastic.
Pretty sweet.
Isn't it? Yeah, no, it's really cool. And, so I got a lot of awesome viewers. My chat is always fantastic. I got a lot of consistent people that show up for me. So, and and well, you know what? I just want to add, thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I really appreciate, any way to, propel my channel further is greatly appreciated. So.
Well, we appreciate you accepting the invitation. Truth be told, that's how I learned about you, was through Tim's show. I've been watching and subscribed to Tim for years. And, I'd be lying if I said he wasn't, an influence for me to decide to start making shows myself on YouTube. And awesome. He is very hardworking. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about the show that you guys did together was kind of watching your real-time red pilling, and seeing it, just incontrovertible evidence over and over and over again that President Trump was good for the country, and that he was doing things that, were by proxy good for you and good for everybody else. And what's, it's amazing to me now, Tim has come full circle, and, he himself has also admitted that he's going to vote for Trump. That's honestly, that's something I never thought that he would say. I was like, he's going to get demonetized as soon as he admits he's a supporter of Trump. But
I'm shocked that he actually admitted it, to be honest. I've known him for about 7 years, so he's known as the milk toast fence sitter because he wants to remain unbiased. He wants to ride that middle line, and that's not me at all. Once I make a decision, I stand firm to my convictions, and I'm always down to change my mind. I respect everyone can. I feel like everyone should be able to change their mind, but if they make a decision, stand by it. So he's very worried about being seen as someone who's biased. And it was a surprise that he actually came out and started talking that he's going to vote for Trump. And I was like, all right, buddy. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, well, that's to your point that you were making earlier about seeing all the crazy actions by the Democrats and the decisions that they're making. And we're all kind of at that 40,000 foot view seeing what's going on. Yeah. And the fact that even Tim is like, okay, I'm going to vote for Trump and feel comfortable enough to say it because it is that bad and the writing's on the wall.
Yes, it is. It's obvious.
So what was it for you that really was the tipping point?
Well, I would say our coverage of COVID-19, because our show was supposed to be pop culture, no politics at all. We were not supposed to be talking politics. I mean, we were doing movie reviews and talking about aliens and really cool science stuff, which I'm all about. I love that science side of things. And, once COVID happened and it became the only thing we did, we couldn't go out anymore. Everyone was stuck inside. Everybody was, across the globe. Everyone was just dealing with COVID, talking about COVID. What's new today? And then of course, President Trump was doing his daily briefings, and I was watching the daily briefings. I was paying attention. I wanted to, be able to sit across from Tim, who is extraordinarily knowledgeable about politics. He knows, he's been doing it for 10 years for straight, nonstop research about politics. He knows almost every senator, everything that has to do with news. He's aware of it and knows the real story, So for me to sit there and actually have a solid conversation with him, I needed to know what I was talking about. And I didn't like not knowing what I was talking about. So the more research I did, the more I paid attention to the president speak, the more I would see the counter that the news would then go out and say, President Trump lied again about this and this. He told people to ingest bleach. And it's like, I watched the speech. I know what he said. That's not what he said, and then, the hydroxychloroquine debacle. And then you had like the governors basically saying him, F off, we're going to do whatever we want to do. You don't control the states. You can, sit in the White House and smile all you want and tell us what you want us to do, but we're going to do what we want to do. And then I proceeded to watch them mess up and make terrible decisions and get people killed. I'm talking about New York, New Jersey, Illinois, even Wisconsin, or not Wisconsin, Michigan. And now they're being investigated by the Department of Justice, which is I'm happy about, honestly, because they were making terrible decisions. But then now we see those same exact governors ripping Trump apart by all these deaths are his fault somehow. And I already was upset. I already was red pilled by this point, but I just had to bring that up because that frustrates me to no end. But it's that hypocrisy that I was watching nonstop, constantly. Them try to blame the Trump campaign, the administration, that it's his fault for all these things that were happening. When he shut it down, they were walking around saying nothing's happening, everything's fine.
Come to Chinatown.
Come to Chinatown. Yep, Pelosi and her crazy, walking around Chinatown. Biden calling him a xenophobe for, cutting out flights from China. It's like, that's exactly what he should have done. What else should he have done? Like, that's literally the only thing he could have done, because he can't tell the states what to do. I agree with that. That's fine. We are the United States of America. We're not, it's not a dictatorship. He doesn't control all the states. So it was just a bombardment of the hypocrisy from the Democrats. And then, of course, daily I would critique it and basically have these conversations with Tim where we would break down everything that was going on and pick it all apart and discuss it. And it was blatantly obvious, I came to my conclusion rather quickly, actually. You said you watched it in real time, and it was pretty quick for me to really gather, because I didn't pay attention, right? I was doing my own thing. I was a skateboarder, gamer. I'm a video gamer, and that's pretty much what I did. I went out skated. Sometimes I would get a job and I would go do that, and I'd come home and just play video games. Life was good. I was living in a comfortable bubble, as most Americans are. Honestly, they're comfortable. They have this comfortable bubble that they live in. They don't understand anything outside of that bubble. But once that bubble gets popped, and you're so aware of what's happening, it's kind of hard to go back. So that's really what it was. It was because of COVID that really drove it home, and being on the TimCast IRL show for sure.
Good stuff. Methods, if you've got a question, go ahead and get that ready. I just need to do a couple of quick thank yous to the audience. Gaffer said, I'm just here for the sports ball stats and dog fights. Thanks for that, Gaffer. And apparently I have a care package coming on the way from Gaffer. I appreciate that, buddy. Nice. Also, Bruce Anderson, thank you very much. He said, Candace Owens for SCOTUS. Andrew sent me a Twitter status. I can't get that off of Cash App, Andrew. Sorry about that. Adam Smith says, Muffin Love. I miss Muffin. Muffin's not here because I'm going to the POTUS rally tomorrow. She's hanging out with my mom this weekend. Melissa, thank you very much, says, love the show. Ryan says, what do you think about post 4686? Was pointing at September 14th through the 18th. Let me take a look there.
I love how Red Pill just skipped over the rally thing, even though he's got VIP and he's going to be sitting behind the president.
We'll talk about it in depth here in just a second. And then Susie says, thanks for all the great information. So thank you, everybody, for supporting the show. I appreciate you guys there. Looks like maybe there's a couple on PayPal, but we'll get to those in a moment. So yes.
Well, I want to make an addition to one of those comments.
Go ahead.
Someone said Candace Owens for SCOTUS, but I think we need her for bigger things. I think she's going to go far. I see her being at POTUS one day. Honestly, she's a smart girl.
I can totally agree with you there. Candace Owens should definitely run for office.
I agree.
So hang on, I'll get to post 4686. But yeah, let me tell you guys what's going on tomorrow. I put this out on Twitter. I guess I don't know that I've talked about it on the air yet. But my buddy J.R. Majewski, I don't know if you've seen this, Adam, but he has quite a sizable piece of property. And he painted his entire lawn a giant Trump 2020 campaign sign.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So a couple different things. He's going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records this year for the largest lawn sign. Nice. And POTUS and his team found out about that through like him posting it on Twitter. He invited him to be in the motorcade when POTUS went to the Whirlpool factory in Ohio recently. So
I remember that.
He got to meet President Trump there. He was in the motorcade, hung out with Secret Service. And so he and I are doing an event on September 29th for the first presidential debate. We're going to be streaming it live with like a giant projection screen and a stage there from his property at that sign.
Dope.
And yeah. So everybody is invited to come. It's in Port Clinton, Ohio. When we get closer to the event, we're going to release the address because it's his personal house. He doesn't want people showing up ahead of time. So
makes sense.
So POTUS and the Trump team found out about that event, and Secret Service called him again. And we got VIP passes to the rally in Toledo tomorrow. And
awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. We're going to be sitting right behind POTUS. So if you're watching on one of the many streaming platforms or Fox or whatever it is that you catch it on, you may see me there behind him wearing a Trump shirt and my Red Pill 78 mask. Apparently we have to wear masks. So unfortunately, but luckily I have one. I'm going to be advertising myself.
There you go. That's how it's done.
Yeah,
shameless promotion on it, but yeah, we're excited / jealous of you, Red Pill. But that'll be a lot of fun. We'll be playing Where's Waldo with you on the camera.
Definitely will.
But as far as the question that I did have to kind of bring this back around, because you said you kind of got red pilled throughout this 2020 process. Obviously, you would have then, not saying that you lived in an echo chamber. I didn't know your personal life, but like as far as your friends are concerned, how did they take that changeover? Were they at all at least interested in Trump, or were they totally against him? Yeah. Give us the rundown on how that played out for you.
Well, sometime in the middle of April, I believe it was. I think it was the beginning of April. I made this declaration on the show. I'm like, you know what? I'm voting for Trump. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a logical person, and this video kind of went viral. The Hodge twins shared it. Terrence Williams shared it. Had millions of views, and then suddenly it disappeared, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it got deleted or if Facebook banned it. Honestly, I'm to this day I don't know. I would like to actually ask the Hodge twins one day, like, hey, did that video get banned? You know, what happened with that? But because of that, I started friends of mine started hitting me up like, are you okay? Like, are you, what's happening with you? Are, you know, what happened? I'm like, what do you mean what happened? Like, I'm still me, you know, I'm still the same person. It's not like I suddenly have a, you know, some sort of screw that went loose in my brain, you know, and it felt like a lot of them felt like that, you know, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a post on Facebook. I'm voting for Trump. Come talk to me, you know, hit me up and let's discuss. And oh my gosh, did I get bombarded. People that I hadn't seen and talked to in 10, 15 years were reaming me out. I was told both I'm white, so I'm not allowed to have a say in what that makes them feel, but then also that I needed to speak up and all this stuff. And I think it must have been in May when I made the Facebook post, because it was after the George Floyd riots. I say riots now because that's really what they've turned into.
Call a spade, you know.
I know, yeah, exactly. So after that all was going down, and I've had people unfriend me that sent me messages like, hey, look, I just can't be friends with you because you know, you're voting for Trump. And I'm like, that's your, like, you cut the line off just because I'm voting for somebody that I didn't understand before. And, you know, I every single time they try to give me reasons why they don't like him, I can debunk them so quickly, you know. Good people on both sides. That's one of the biggest things. Or, you know, the locker room talk when he was, you know, grabbing him by the, you know what. And it's like, I know almost every single person I know knows somebody who when they're talking privately with their friends, like, wants to, oh man, I would love to sleep with that person. Or,
sure,
you know, I'm not saying everyone says that to that extreme or whatever, but I don't know. It's like, you know, you can tell that President Trump's kind of you know, he's a grandstander. He likes being that kind of he's like a bro, you know, not like a bro, not wrong kind of.
He's
term.
a Chad.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. You know, he just has a way about him, and he likes being liked. He enjoys making other people laugh too, you know, and that's part of his personality. And I don't know. I did a deep dive on Donald Trump and his family, and that really helped me understand the type of person he is, the who his father was, who his grandfather was, his mother, and just throughout his life, he had. I don't know if you saw my deep dive, but it's on my channel, AdamCast IRL. You could check that out. But because of that, I feel like I had a different viewpoint on him now. So trying to explain to these people that were reaming me out for the stupidest things. Silence is violence, but also you're not allowed to say anything because you're a white, you know, heterosexual male in the most privileged place in the world. It's like, okay, well, which is it? You know, I was getting super frustrated because every single person needs to be a part of a conversation moving forward. You can't just, you know, you need to be quiet and let everyone else talk. And it's like, well, everyone should be a part of the conversation, you know? And I mean, just looking at Trump, he's done so much for the minority community, and you can't even say this to these kind of people, you know. And I cut my circle apart. I went from, I don't know, 650, 700 friends on Facebook, which looking at it, I was like, it was a lot of people. Cut it down to like 300. Now I have a really small circle, and it is so much better. But I had for all the people that were attacking me on this Facebook post, right? There was, say, for every 10 person, there was 2 people that were sending me messages going, "Hey, I agree with you. I don't want to deal with what you're dealing with right now. But I'm totally with you. I totally agree with what you're saying." And then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna attack these people. I'm gonna debunk what they're yelling at me for. And then I started doing that. I'm like, here's an article debunking that. Here's another thing that debunks what you're saying there. And then they're like, well, here's all these articles that debunk your debunk. And I would go and read them. I'm like, okay, well, I read all those. There's a lot of allegedly. It's always allegedly. It's always from a source close to this person tells us this. And it's like, there's never any proof, you know? So I would say to them, look, it's all allegedly. Like, where's the proof? I want proof. And they're like, that's the proof. Read it again. And I'm like, no, I read it. Did you read what I sent? No, I didn't. I don't have to read that. Like, what? and it dawned on me that I had a lot of friends. No, I don't want to use the word friends, because I kind of reevaluated what the term friend means to me. And I realized that they were just people that I knew in my life. They're associates, people that in passing. My friends, who are really close friends of mine, I have more of a relationship now than I've had in 10 years. I talk to my friends daily now. We hang out. Now I have a Twitch stream where I stream games, and I'm gaming with my friends. I love gaming with my friends. It's like the reason why I like gaming so much is because I get to, engage with my homies. And now I find myself having better connections with my family. It turns out a lot of my family's Trump supporters, and some of them aren't. But even still, the close friends of mine that aren't Trump supporters are now trying to convince me not to be a Trump supporter, which is kind of funny because seriously, one of my friends says that they're losing sleep over the fact that I'm voting for Trump this year, because the wording was, I can't believe my intellectual friend, I think that's how he put it, like that, because I'm an intellectual of like friend of his, because we have really strong science connections. We talk a lot about the future of space travel and just a lot of things like that. He's like, I can't believe that you've been duped by the president. I'm like, at least you admit he's your president.
Right. Perfect.
I can really relate to your experience, because in 2016, after President Trump won, I publicly, this is the last time I used Facebook, by the way, I publicly came out on Facebook as a supporter of President Trump. And I really wasn't prepared for the level of vitriol that was about to be heaped upon me. And and I very quickly, I had a web design company and a hosting business. And within a matter of days, I lost every single client that I had through that business. Everybody in my area was not a fan of President Trump. And I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that, we were at a point where, okay, President Trump had, he had won. I mean, that's it. He's your president. We have to move on. I knew many people who didn't like George W. Bush during, his tenure. But, people still had relationships with each other. They were able to talk to each other. I wasn't prepared for how fractured the country was and how divisive this issue was going to be. And, the same thing, somebody, an old lifelong friend came to me and said, what happened to our friend Zach? Where is he? We want him back. And I was like, I'm still here. It's just that I'm willing to take a look at this situation objectively and to give him a chance. Thank you. I voted for him. I'm looking for something different. Let's talk about Obama's record. He did nothing his entire 2 terms. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for pretending that he was going to end wars that he never ended. Let's really take a look at it here.
Yeah, no, I exactly. There's this mental switch that it felt like they suddenly thought I was a racist, I was a bigot, I was sexist, and it's like, where are you getting all this information? Like, why are you applying that to me? That proves to me they're not my friends, because a friend of mine will know my true character didn't change at all. I haven't changed in the slightest. I have friends, and of course everyone hates this argument. Well, of course that you have friends of all colors. They always say that, and it's like, yeah, I do. I wasn't taught. I was raised that true character lies underneath any skin color. We all bleed the same. Like, what does it have to do with it? I don't see anyone until they open their mouth and talk to me and show me who they are. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt until they prove to me otherwise. And that's how it should be. And I to bring back the deep dive, his business partner was Ivana, his first wife, and she ran the business that he worked with him. She helped build the Trump Tower. The woman who built the tower for him, I think it was Rebecca Reese. I might be getting the name wrong, but she was a boss, and he hired her because she did the job the best. And that building still is beautiful. You still look at that building and you're like, wow, that's a pretty great building. It was built back in 1983. So, I mean, this whole sexist thing, it's the whole racist thing. It's you want to compare apples to oranges. Like, look at Joe Biden's record. Like they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to even look at his actual racist statements. Countless racist statements. It's not just like one here or there. It was like nonstop throughout the years on the Senate floor, talking about the crime bill, not trying to convince everyone why it needs to be a thing, is appalling. And if you guys, if anyone out there hasn't actually went and watched that, go watch it, because it blew my mind away when I first was really digging into when Biden, well, he got the nomination just a couple weeks ago, but he was the presumptive nominee for quite some time now. So it was embarrassing to see that, and that's what really annoys me. It to bring back how some of my associate friends, they wouldn't want to do the research. They didn't want to look at anything that popped their narrative, and that's the left in a nutshell. That's it. It's because it's all emotional. There's no intellectual discernment going on. I mean, it's just how they feel, how they've been told they should feel. And what else? The other thing that's really ironic to me is that everything that you just said there, about basing your opinions on someone's character or the merits of their work, everything that we did in this country to get to that point is now being undone by the left. I know. Right. It's so ironic that they're actually rolling the clock back. Methods, did you have a comment?
Right. Well, I was listening to Adam talk about it, and he hit the nail on the head from the jump, that he took the time. Like, you had read, what the media was saying, your CNNs, your MSNBCs, all that stuff, the headlines that they were saying. Yep. Then you also took the time to read the other headlines, the ones that weren't on that side, and you decided for yourselves. And I know, obviously, you probably heard about this Q movement and stuff. I'm sure that I've seen some people in the chat curious about your opinion on it. But regardless about it, is that we want everybody to research for yourselves. That's what we do. We look at all pieces of evidence and then come to your own conclusion. And that's the point, because if the left is like, oh, okay, well, I have all these articles that are saying Orange Man bad for whatever reason, I'm like, all right, show me. And it's just a Rolodex of CNN, insert name here. That's the problem that we get into, because then you're like, oh, well, they're writing propaganda because of this, that, and the other. And then you get into a multi-layered argument with somebody who had already made up their mind from the jump. But you are definitely a great example, because we talk about a lot of people getting red pilled during this entire experience, whether it is through Q stuff or just Trump in general. And the fact that you can sit here and say that, this is a living example of that to the audience, like of that going on. But I guess because I brought it up, I'm just going to ask, because a lot of people have, what is your thoughts on QAnon, all that?
Well, I mean, I learned more about, I don't know if you know the other channel, Just Informed.
Yes.
I went on his channel, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and, he asked me, he was talking about it, and we, I didn't realize how much it is doing your own research. That's kind of like the core of what it is. And in that sense, like, I 100% agree with that. The whole Anon inside the government sending out messages, I don't know much about that kind of that side of it. So I guess I'm still kind of new to that whole thing, because I tend to focus on, I'm honestly, I've been super busy. I've been starting my own channel. I'm also starting another business. I'm also trying to write a new album, because I'm a musician as well. And so my mind has just been racing 100 miles an hour for the past, basically since I left the Timcast show. Well, technically I didn't leave the show, but I guess we can get into that another time or later on. I don't know, but I don't know. The news to me is I'm trying to find optimistic things. I want to push optimism into the airwaves. I feel like everyone is so stuck on the past. And that could be applied to anyone. Everyone that I know almost is stuck on the past. What has happened? Let's get angry about about the past. I want to flip it to the future. I want to move to the future. I want to talk to the future. I want to, I want people to be excited about figuring out the answer instead of being angry at the problem. And I feel like that's really the root cause of most of the problems today, because everyone's so focused on staying there, and as I said, it's like almost anyone has this issue. A lot of people I know personally, and comments that I see, people are just annoyed and pissed off about the past, and it's like, okay, well, what's the answer? Oh, I don't want to deal with the answer, or I have this thing that I can stay angry at, and the right is just as guilty as the left in this sense, because they're both angry at each other. No one's trying to go, okay, well, let's move forward. Well, I don't want to say no one, because honestly, President Trump, I mean, look at him. He's making peace deals.
Yes.
It's I mean, I know you brought it up a little bit earlier. You guys were talking about it. It's incredible. Who would have thought, the king of Saudi Arabia, he was talking to the king, and the king of Saudi Arabia was like, yeah, potentially I could join this peace deal. And I'm like, yes,
yeah,
this is amazing. Making moves, moving to a peaceful future. Like, this is awesome. This is what I want.
Yeah, this is truly a transformative time for not only this country, but for the world. And I think that for a lot of people, it's just easier to stay there in that like anger and that anxiety and the fear, whatever it is. And, unfortunately, people, they get stuck in that mode, and I mean, what we said there earlier, President Trump allows the press to stay occupied with all of these, bogus things happening. He's tweeting too much. But then at the same time, behind the scenes, he is brokering the greatest peace deal ever seen on the planet Earth.
That's true.
Real quick, I just need to say thank you to Doug Nelson. Thank you very much, Doug. Sent a couple of donations earlier. Hey Jude, a good friend of the channel. Yesterday, her cat Max died in her arms, and she lost her other cat Casey on August 9th. My heart is broken. I'm going to adopt a senior cat to fill the hole in my heart. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that, Hey Jude, and I think that's probably the best thing you can do. Ryan says thanks
for rescuing.
Yeah, for rescuing, most definitely. I've got 2 cats and 2 dogs, and every animal I've ever had was a rescue.
Awesome.
Ryan says, thanks for all you do for the movement. Never miss a show. Sorry so little, asking for prayers. My family was robbed by BLM thugs during a move. Lost everything but the clothes on her back. Please share. Ryan, if you can send this to me in an email, I can't pull this out of the message on PayPal. I will definitely share that in the chat. I'm so sorry to hear that. James, thank you for that. Another James says, Justice Sidney Powell. I can get behind that 100%. Joe's Bargain Store says, thanks for keeping me red-pilled. And Phil B. Me Too, thank you for that donation. And then also Julie just sending the donation, no message. I appreciate that. But yeah, Ryan, if you can send me an email, I will definitely get that shared here. Adam, I'm sorry.
Real quick before we move on, I've had enough people in the chat asking. You brought up Twitch and being gaming, and there's some gamers in the chat wanting your information. So, how can they find you with the link or whatever for?
Here we go. So at Adam Crigler, if you just, I think you posted my channel.
It's actually in the description of the video, but
I'm not the one that puts it. I'm not the one that puts it together. But
oh no, that's fine. That's fine. If you just look at the information, Red Pill put it in the info. It's actually my channel, twitch.tv/Adam Crigler. There's my name right here, Adam Crigler. You could type it in Twitch. I'm going to be live streaming PS5. I pre-ordered it, so I'm going to have PS5 coming, and I'm going to do a box opening and play Demon Souls first. I can't wait to play that game. I stream with my friends pretty much every day now. We're playing 7 Days to Die. I'm going to do a Dark Souls run soon-ish. Thanks for asking. Yeah, and please come support me and watch me play some games. Thank you.
I play Valve Index, and I game on my computer. So this is something I've been trying to figure out how to do for a while, is to stream the games live as I'm playing them. I don't know that my audience is there for that, but whatever. I mean, I've got a Twitch channel too, so that would be fun.
Is it also Red Pill 78?
Yes, it is also Red Pill 78. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so just looking for that email. Anytime you get me that email, I'll go ahead and share it. So, Adam, we mentioned Amy Coney Barrett, and then the other choice, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. If you could have a dream Supreme Court pick, who would you want President Trump to go ahead and put up for nomination?
It was Barbara Lagoa. I don't know. My political awakening / red pilling, it's not done. I feel like every day I learn more. I learn a new congresswoman, congressman. I'm still learning. I think it's really important for people to know who their local representatives are. I'm realizing how important that is. So I'm trying to really drive that home on my channel. Like, look, know who your representatives are, know who represents you and changes the law in your state. Because as we've learned, the states make all the choices. Sure, there's federal law and everything, but that's only the surface of, like, really the states have a lot of power. So know who your local representatives are. I'm talking to all you out here. Honestly, I have a feeling a lot of your audience is very aware, and you know, I feel like once you become red pilled, you just kind of, that's just second nature. It's part of life to understand what the laws are, who's making those laws, and realizing how important it is to be a part of voting for those people. It's not just voting for the president. You know, it's funny, I was thinking about this earlier. They say, well, oh, democracy's dead now because Ruth Bader Ginsburg is dead. And it's like, you guys don't understand. We are a republic. We aren't a democracy. If it was a democracy, all those people would be screwed because the majority don't feel the way that they do. And a democracy is majority rule. Sorry, minorities. We're a republic where, you know, everyone has a voice. That's why America is so incredible. They don't understand how awesome we are as the republic that we are. So it's just funny to watch them. So yeah, I just but who would be my dream choice? Man, it's hard to say, because that's why I was bringing it up. Like, I really don't know. I don't feel like I have a grasp on the options. You know, everyone on the list. Like, I don't know who these people are. You know, I don't even know who Amy Barrett is. You know, but it seems that everyone wants her to be the choice. So I'm inclined to look at her, and she was already vetted, I guess, right? So,
yes, that's right. Yeah, I believe she was like the second choice for, you know, at the time that Gorsuch and then also Kavanaugh were both confirmed. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So,
so why not? Why wouldn't she be in line, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And to that point, Adam, that you were saying, how about you're still in your process of being red pilled.
Yeah.
And also to take it back, as you said, you don't understand the Q stuff exactly. And
Sure.
I'm not about to get here and just full blown walk it through the show. We could talk after the show and we could fill you in on how the posts work. But
yeah,
as far as what I would focus on is what it's created, because I know that you are on social media a lot. You see people talking about it, and what it created is an environment and a movement that's pushing this information out there for you to then know who your local representatives are, who to not vote for. What have these people done in the past? They say one thing on TV in the morning, by that afternoon, you're seeing clips of them saying the exact opposite 5 years ago. We are trying to make sure that people have an even playing field of information for them to think for themselves. And when with the media, when they say that we're pushing these crazier, not, I would say crazier narratives, but they have their talking points. You know, that's not really what this is about, as much as us just trying to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to know the information that you're learning even through this process now.
Right on. So it's just an assistant, basically, you know, to give, I mean, because the media sucks. They're the worst. You know, even Fox. I mean, people say Fox is also is like, oh, you watch Fox. Like, some people were like, oh, you sound like, when I said I was voting for Trump, a lot of people were like, oh man, of course you're just another Fox loving whatever. And it's like, you know, I've seen what Fox posts. Like, they're not also, you know, above this, you know, twisting the truth. Like, almost every single media. I think that's why Tim does so well, because he does the BS report, like he's got BS radar. He knows how to see through it and go, this is the truth. Now I'm going to give you my opinions on it. So,
well, to that point, I make fun of the Fox News on this channel pretty openly for the same reasons of what you're saying. Right. But it's back to that talking point stuff. I mean, we that's why a lot of us spend time digging for this information, finding the puzzle pieces, and also calling for, you know, justice and things to be served. If people committed a crime on either side of the line, you know, let's go after it. And we also support this president because he's there for us, and we haven't been given a reason to turn and say, all right, he's not the guy for us. And we're just trying to make sure that we're supporting as such. So as far as you're learning about Q and all these things, you know, because we will help you, you know, understand what these posts mean and all that. Think about the environment that it's created, because it's a lot like what you are looking to do itself, as far as trying to understand more. You can get a lot of that from the people that are involved in this.
Where do these posts appear? Like, what is it?
Well, I mean, they've been on a variety of message boards, but right now they are on 8kun, which is like the sequel to 8chan. But
Okay.
you can find them on a series of aggregators. So our friend Techmaster Q, that's my favorite aggregator. It's qag.news. So
Okay.
qagg.news. And you can find him there. And he's got individual posts, and then you can also go to the originals. You can get exports of JPEGs, so you can put them in tweets if you want to. You can drill down with searches. But I mean, we've got 4,739 posts at this point, and it's spanned over a couple of different places. But, I mean, really, to your point about, this being a research-driven movement, I mean, that's truly what it is. I mean, it started with a series of posts, hinting at things and then switching kind of to using the Socratic method to get people to ask questions and do their own research. And, a lot of people that decry it and say that it's, it's a LARP or whatever, they say, these predictions have never come to pass. Well, if you can honestly look at the situation, it's been people making YouTube videos or writing articles about it, making predictions based upon the information that's in the posts. It's not really a series of predictions. There were a couple of, ones at the, at the beginning that gave some what looked to be some dates and, saying like Hillary Clinton will be arrested on 11/3 or whatever it was. But, I mean, who's to say that this wasn't given to us in reverse? Maybe Hillary Clinton's going to be arrested on November 3rd this year. I don't know. But,
Who knows?
it's fun. It's a lot of fun to go through and to kind of like try to pick through it and determine what we're being told to look at.
Yeah, I saw someone in chat that said Q creates curiosity.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it.
And I think, yeah, well, you got to be curious to become red-pilled, in some sense, because if you're not curious, then why would anyone want to do any work, A lot of people, as we mentioned earlier, are in their comfortable little bubbles, and they're busy working, and they come home and they're tired, and they don't have time to, they might open up Facebook and see what a couple friends are posting, and that may be the only time they get their news. And honestly, that's a shame. But then I understand. There's a lot of people that just work hard in this country, and there should be nothing wrong with that. So, if they have the curiosity to find out the truth, that's the start.
I think that is what the cabal has been counting on. I mean, they have reduced the quality of life, not only in America, but, across the board. I mean, people having to work harder and harder, the destruction of the nuclear family. You've got both parents out working, computers, TV, media, taking care of the kids, and counting on the fact that people are just going to accept whatever Politico or CNN or MSDNC, whatever they say, and they won't do the research, and now, thank God, we've got millions and millions and millions of people waking up, not just here in America, but all across the globe, and they're starting to do their own research and looking into these things.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah,
and then you got to add like the indoctrination from children in our schools and how terrible that is. There's an impression matrix that I just found. Methods. I don't know if you're the one who posted that or not, but from St. Louis, someone posted this crazy thing. I'm just gonna read a couple of these things because it's here it is, the impression matrix, and it's like if you're white, you're privileged, and you're racist. They're teaching this, by the way. If you're biracial, you could kind of be, but if you're Asian, Black, Latino, or Native, you're definitely oppressed. That they're straight up just telling that this is like what they're teaching. Like if you're in this bracket, you're an oppressed person, even if you aren't, even if you have a solid nuclear family and your parents both love you and give you the validation that you get love, so you don't need to seek it elsewhere and have some weird social dynamic in that sense. It's like this is my biggest problem with most things. Nobody wants to take accountability for their lives. They always want to blame something else. Yeah. I think that is the one of the biggest things that is causing a lot of this. Everybody wants to blame others for their problems because it's just simply easy. That's it. And we got to stop doing that.
Well, and quite frankly, I mean, that's what people have been taught, you know? I mean, like if
Yep.
if you don't have a good job or you're unable to hold a good job, it's not your fault. It's because you've been oppressed. It's because of systemic racism, you know? I mean, you know, it's not your own fault, and it's certainly not the fault of the fact that you didn't have a stable home life when you grew up or that you grew up in a bad neighborhood. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen to a person in their life that build them and their character and, you know, shape their decisions as they grow up. But I mean, when you get to a certain point, I mean, you have the opportunity to decide to change things for yourself, you know? I mean, I am like 2.5 years sober, okay? So at a certain point, I decided, you know, drugs and alcohol was destroying my life, and it didn't matter. I mean, I owned a home, I had a car, I had a daughter, a teenage daughter, you know? I mean, I figured everything was good, you know? I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, drugs and alcohol, it's just me partying on the weekends or whatever. But came to find out that that wasn't the case, you know, and things get a lot better when you decide that you can change things for a different track. Yeah.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mental choice to stay a victim or move forward and let what has happened to you define you and help you progress in your life. Mm-hmm. Everyone is their own antagonist. It's whether or not they recognize it. And nobody, no, I don't want to say nobody. That's the problem. People they don't want to face that. They don't want to face the fact that they themselves can make a difference. They, you know, because I keep bringing it up, people are comfortable. Mm-hmm. They get comfortable. They get complacent in their lives. Things get comfortable and they're like, oh, well, why isn't this working? Oh, it must be someone else's fault, period. And yep, we gotta pop them bubbles.
Right. And exactly like you were saying with the indoctrination, that's the same thing about they want us all divided. So they're going to the children and creating, you know, they're like, all right, we have this MAGA generation here that's voting for Trump and they're going to push things forward the best they can. You know, obviously they know that things are swaying in the favor of patriotism. So we need to make sure that these children that are coming up, you know, we can at least go ahead and plant the seed for the future because they do the long game on this indoctrination thing. Yep. And we can't allow it to happen. But we do have that major talking point when we work on stuff is, you know, they want you divided and they want us separated. And even though the right, I know you can agree, we have the best memes. We pick on the left a lot. we definitely are better at a lot of things when it comes to this back and forth during this election year, especially. Yeah. But we need to make sure that we love everybody the best we can. And I know we got to practice what we preach on that, but we definitely have to remember that if they want us, if what they, you know, in quotes, want is something that we need to find suspect immediately and try to find a way to remedy that in our personal lives.
Agree wholeheartedly. Yep, exactly.
So, just want to talk a little bit about the show before we end for the night. You've got a co-host. Tell us about your co-host there. Is that just for right now, or is that what you're going to be doing for the duration?
Yeah, I don't know who my co-host is. Tim took the computer I was using. These are his cameras. I'm still you know, in the cast network, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. And he took his computer because he's moving to a new location. So I didn't have a computer, and it kind of worked out that a mutual friend of my wife's and I was nearby, and we kind of went into the woods and explored. It was wonderful. And I came back, and I guess my co-host is on the Timcast IRL show now. So I don't really know what happened. I don't know. So my wife has been joining me now, and I don't know. I'm starting to get. I don't know if you know Karlin Borisenko.
Yes,
she's a doctor.
I'd actually love to have her on the show.
I could probably make that happen for you. She's awesome, great. And she's going to be joining me every Thursday now. Yeah. I have a science. I don't want to say expert because he's not technically a scientist, but I just had a show with him last night. His name's Michael Lane. And he is working on building a lunar elevator. It was a really interesting episode that we were talking about last night. And solar, you know, orbital solar arrays are in the future. I had a retired SpaceX, Air Force general who joined us. His name's Peter Garrettson. He joined us also last night. So really interesting guests. I have Bryson Gray. Do you know the musician?
Oh yeah, he's a good friend of the channel. Yeah.
So he's going to be on my show next month. I have some. I have a lot of cool guests that are going to be coming in. I really just want to like. I don't want to talk politics. I want to talk everything because I feel like everything, this whole cog of life, has all these different facets, and I find everything fascinating, and I want to learn about everything. So I'm just trying to expand. And so as far as my co-host goes, I want it to change. I want it to constantly, evolve and really just interview everyone. And I would like both of you to come on my show and talk about your journeys. Sure. It would be wonderful.
Of course.
I would love to. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to hold you both to that. I heard you say it.
No, we're all about that, Adam, because we talk about a lot. With everybody, at least in our movement, we cover a lot of news all the time. Yeah, and we want to make sure that we also have the entertainment side type thing. Have something different. Yeah, right, we're having our own culture, So of course, there's people who follow this stuff that we do, but they also love video games, like what Red Pill said he does. There's people are into different things. There's been a lot of talking about people wanting to start their own cooking classes. So you have like Patriots doing that kind of thing. I think that's fantastic. I think that we need more of it. So when you said that you were not wanting, like we listened to you because you were talking a lot of politics, and the first thing you say is my channel is I don't want to talk about politics. I was like, all right, I was like, that's but you ultimately you want to make sure that you have everything else, right?
Right. I won't ever shy away from politics because, as I said earlier, it's important. It's part of living in this society that we're in, and I want to live in this society. I love the society that we have. We have running water. It's amazing. We poop in a toilet and the poop goes away. People take these things for granted. I know it's funny, but it's like these little things. I mean, I've been in South Africa, and I've been to little towns where they have to walk to one spigot of water for the entire village, and there's a line with people with buckets trying to get water to shower, to cook, to clean, to wash them, everything. It's like we are so spoiled that when I see these people marching in the streets, it gets so frustrating because they have no idea how amazing it is here. They take it for granted. So I want to remind everybody that I want to move to a brighter future, and I just want to bring positivity. That's really my goal. I'm an optimist, and I want to bring that to everyone else. I want people to be more optimistic, instead of being angry.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. The energy itself, you put it out there, it's infectious. People, will take it into their own lives, and it's definitely a great thing. Now, Red Pill, I know you probably got things to go over and stuff real quick, but as people are heading out for the door, make sure you guys click that thumb blue. We really do appreciate it.
Oh, yo, smash that like button, everybody. Come on.
Do it.
That's my thing. Smash it. Oh, smash it.
All right. So I had people asking what mask I'm going to wear tomorrow so you can recognize me on screen. This is what I'll be wearing. Please definitely turn that thumb blue if it is still blue in your version of the app. Also, Ryan Lawson sent me another couple of super chats asking about what I think about post 4686. Okay, so post 4686 was the one telling us to look at September 14th through the 18th and the 21st through the 25th. Equal justice under the law as written, transparency, disclosure, and accountability. Justice is the only way forward. Our country is broken. There is no equal justice under the law right now. We have a two-tier justice system. We need the transparency. We need the accountability. We need a return to justice if our country is going to heal. That's what I believe that is saying. The future of our republic is at stake. That's exactly what it is. Watergate times 1,000. That is Spygate. It is the biggest scandal of, I think, the American landscape in terms of politics. September 14th through the 18th, the 21st through the 25th, those are those 2 weeks. We had RBG die last week. We've got some big stuff coming up this week that I think is probably going to happen. Did Kevin set his alarm? That was in reference to Kevin Cork. Kevin Cork tweeted out, wake me up basically when the indictments come. Who knows? Maybe this upcoming week we're going to see some indictments unsealed. So I need to say thank you to Ryan Lawson. Thank you again to Susie. She says thanks for all the great information. And then also Victor James, fans of Jimmy Century. This is a YouTube channel, Fans of Jimmy Century. Look them up. They have sent me an email before, and we corresponded briefly, but maybe we'll have you guys on the show. We can talk about that. All right, you guys, basically that's the end of the show. Look for this mask tomorrow to be sitting behind POTUS. That is my face. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here, Adam. I appreciate it. Definitely glad that we got this taken care of, and I'm looking forward to coming on your channel as well. Everybody, go into the description. Make sure that you subscribe to AdamCast IRL. Follow his Twitch, and you can follow him on Twitter as well. That's down there. So thank you to everybody who has participated in the chat tonight. Methods, always thank you to you for being here. I love you guys, and I will not be producing a show tomorrow because I'm going to be at the rally. So just look for me on screen behind POTUS, and maybe I'll get to meet POTUS. I'm going to bring my camera, and we'll get some pictures and videos. All right, you guys. Good luck. God bless. We will talk to you on Tuesday. Occam's Razor and then Red Pill News. Thanks again, Adam.
Of course. Thank you.